All right. Home Squad Sports ready to go over Week 7 and Week 6 of NFL. If you're tuning in here, just ended with the Bills and the Jets. So yeah, that was a close game, and we'll go over that in just a second. But I want to go over our top 6 games as well as, like I said, NFL. We got MVPs, some highlight film from our MVP as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. Jalden, how you been today?
Man, it's a good day. Enjoyed some NFL football. I've tried to get over the loss today of yet last night. Really took a really tough L, as you are aware. As just well as me with how much you bet on us and lost. So, it's just been a recovery day for me in terms of my well being, and I could be doing better, but I could be doing worse, man.
Yeah, I lost some money on it. Damn, dude. Yeah, I did. I put some money on
I'm sorry. I'm
Florida. I
sorry.
thought they were gonna win because they suck and it's a horrible program. They should get dropped out of the SEC. Put him
Too
in the
far.
Big 12.
Too
Put him
far.
in the Big 12. They're a disgrace. All right, that's
Too
all I
far.
gotta say.
Too far.
That's what I gotta say. That's what I gotta say. So, all right, I'm just playing. All right, week 7 here. We got our scores in the ticker if you caught them. But let's go ahead and go over them. Pretty excited now. A couple of these games, man, blowout in the Red River rivalry with the Texas and OU. Go ahead and start it. We were both wrong with that one. I think everyone thought that it was going to be a little bit closer of a game. But what did you think, Gent?
Well, we said 17-20. So we weren't too far off, but Oklahoma just don't have nothing, man. I feel bad for the players that the blue chips that went there, or the guys that stayed behind. Really, when they hired Venables, man, they were expecting a lot more, I'm sure, and they just haven't been up to par the last 2 years. Which that's when he took over. So I feel bad for the players, man, that were already there. Like I said, it sucks. I hope Oklahoma can back to where they were before, because it's nice when Oklahoma's good. It's one of those teams that's good for college football because of how good they've always been. But Texas is a dog, man. They're tough to beat. They played great. First quarter and a half was close, and that's it. Then they ran away with it. Their defense is just balling this year so far.
Yeah, their defense is good, and I think not a lot of people are talking about it. But everyone's going to talk about
Underrated.
the Yeah, everyone's going to talk about quarterback. Obviously, I mean it's football, but yeah, and I agree with the take on. Usually, on most teams, it's good for them to be good, but hey, we got Miami good now. We got Notre Dame a little better than they have been, and I think we. All right, not everyone can be good, but if I had to trade, I'll take Miami being good for than Oklahoma being bad. But you're right. I mean, when the blue bloods are good, it's just better for everything. But yeah, you think they would have came out a little bit better. But Texas is looking like the favorite right now. We'll get into top 25 later here that just dropped. But we'll go ahead and move on with the Nittany Lions, man. Penn State over USC. We both thought, we had our undefeated teams coming in. We thought Penn State was going to be one of those teams to drop, and they did not drop. They did not drop at all. They showed up, showed out. Now even with Drew Outler throwing 3 picks, they still won, which blew my mind. We'll get into some stats here, into all that good stuff here, but especially into look of our top players, just to give you a sneak preview. But we obviously thought USC was going to win. They didn't. Miller Moss didn't ball out, maybe like we thought he was going to. Which is, I mean, it happens. I don't think he's up there. Like I said, I didn't think he was up there with those top guys. He's good, but maybe a little bit down the road. But what do you think from Nittany Lions? And they're undefeated. Are they for real?
So circumstantial, I mean, great win, great win. I can argue that it was a great win, but in terms of for real, in terms of title contenders, man, I put them on a neutral field with a lot of them teams. A lot of the top 5 teams, I don't think they'll beat any of them. That's not to discredit them at all. They have a lot of good offensive weapons. They got Tyler Warren, like you said, a sneak peek. They got 2 great backs there, Harrison Wallace, Liam Clifford. They got good receivers, man, and their defense is always good. But they go up 30. USC's kicker missed that field goal in overtime. That's what really gave him the win. So who knows what happens if he makes that? But still, shout out James Franklin. This is the best season he's had, best start he's had at Penn State so far, and maybe they can get it done. Ohio State looked beatable with Will Howard at quarterback this week, so you got that game in a couple weeks. If Penn State beats them, they'll probably run the table.
Yeah. A lot of these teams are looking like, hey, if there's a few teams in the nation right now. It's like, hey, if they beat that, they're going to win out. Hey, if
One
they beat
game,
them,
yeah.
they're going to win out. Or hey, if they lose to them, they're going to lose out for a few of these other teams. So it's getting into the really great part. I mean, obviously, with players sitting out in the bowls, it's a lot of these teams. It is playoff or die. For a few of them. So yeah, like I'd agree. If you put them on a neutral field, yeah, they're probably going to lose. 3 picks, you can't do that against anyone. USC is probably one of the few teams you can throw 3 picks against and still win. But, we'll see later in the year. I mean, Drew Adler, a lot of people he's kind of a dark horse on that Dylan Gabriel with, if they can win out. It doesn't feel like Penn State's undefeated, though. It doesn't even feel like it. They're undefeated. We know they're undefeated, but it just doesn't feel like they're undefeated. I don't know.
No, for sure. And one thing before we move on, about the other side of this game, UFC, Lincoln Riley might be the most overrated coach I've ever seen in my whole lifetime. Not to be a hater, he does produce guys in the league. So if you're a high school player, yeah, I get it why you go to him. But he just doesn't produce wins, man. He doesn't win big games. So if you want to win, don't go there. But if you want to go to the league, yeah, he'll do that. It's it's kind of like John Calipari of college basketball. You ain't gonna win a title, but you're gonna go to the league and produce. So it's take your poison there when it comes to Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, yeah, he does. He is kind of like
I mean, that's
Coach Cal. I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll see. Don't want to get me started on Coach Cal this late at night. Oh, oh God, I'll go in on a tangent.
I
God,
know you will. I know.
Ruperino was quiet last year, and
Hey,
I
I
don't
went
want to.
too last year, man. We both won there last year.
Yeah, I
Great
don't
year.
want. Yeah, but okay, we'll move on
Ran him
from
out
there,
of
and then
town.
what we're gonna do is we are gonna let Dalton elaborate on his Florida Gators here in a minute. So we're gonna do as brief as we can of a rundown. It's hard for me to do. I jumped on the wagon of Florida, hammered them a couple units that I don't usually bet that much, and I lost. I was able to save myself in NFL yesterday, but yeah, I mean, I thought the Florida Gators were going to win 17-23. It was a old school fashion brawl all through. Florida left some points out there on the board early and kind of late. Tennessee really wasn't able to capitalize until the end, and when they did. So, just want to get a brief rundown before we can let you really address the situation on your team. But overall, real quick, what was your bullet points from the game?
The bullet points is coaching to me. Our players outplayed the other team. So Billy Napier, I think, is the difference in this game. Not
Hmm.
Tennessee's players. Not Tennessee's players, man. That's what hurts as a fan, man. Our players, when the players are better than them on the field, man, it's so frustrating that you lose the game when it's on the coach. Especially when you're getting paid as much as he is. That's my first bullet point.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I was thought you were gonna win it. Mertz obviously getting hurt when he obviously threw a touchdown, was falling back on his back foot after throwing a tutty, and looks like he maybe tore his meniscus. Did it come out what happened to him? Is it
Yeah,
a
he's out for
meniscus?
the year, man. It's
Is it
light weight
meniscus?
time.
Is it
ACL, classic
ACL?
ACL injury. On contact. So before we move on, let me just talk about Graham Mercer's career, man. He did everything he could as a Gator. He balled 26 touchdowns, 5 picks in a year and a half. You can't ask for much better production than that. The defense let him down. Coaching let him down. Run game let him down. Graham Mercer will always be a Gator. So great sound effect. Great sound effect. I love that. Let's go, Graham Mertz, man. Shout out. You're a Gator forever, bro. No matter how this year goes, you gave your heart to this program, and that's all we can ask, man. The results weren't always the best, but a lot of it wasn't on you.
Yeah, I agree. I'll echo that right there. As a person who tore their knee, and, you never think it's going to happen to you, and then after that, it's all mental from there, and you never think it's going to happen. You always play. They tell you to go to 100% every play, and once that season-ending injury happens, man, it's never fun, and your world takes a whole turn, and your vision, kind of goes, from real broad to real fisheye, and you gotta regroup. And I don't know, are they going to maybe get him a red shirt? I don't know. They'll maybe apply for a hardship or something with him. If Cam Rising can get 80 million years, I think they may be able to give him one more, huh?
Oh, I agree with that, but the way where our program is at, man, with Lagway playing the last 6 games, it sucks because we love Mertz, I do, but we just don't have a place for him probably next year.
Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah, I agree, but hopefully maybe he'll be able to go somewhere else and get some
Yeah,
reps,
somewhere else.
and ball out, or what the case may be. But with it being in the middle of the season, modern medicine, it's really up to how his body responds. Really, so he could, recover in time for the beginning of next season, or he couldn't. We'll see. We've seen, a lot of people bounce back from the ACLs a lot quicker than back when we were younger, or back when a few years ago. So we'll go ahead and move on from that. Like I said, we're going to touch on it here in a minute. We want to move on to Kansas State versus Colorado. Man, obviously I had Buffs here. Jen, you had Kansas State. They won. Man, injuries are part part of the game. We kind of were late to the game because we were watching the Florida game, and we didn't even get to see Travis Hunter play. He was already at the game when we tuned in. So I mean, he got hurt. Jimmy Horn got hurt. I think they lost. Amarion Miller was banged up and was in and out. I mean, it's injuries a part of a game, but takeaway point with at least with Colorado is if you can play pretty bad because they didn't play great. If you can play bad and lose your guys on the field and still only lose by 3, that it is a there's I don't really believe in moral victories. You either win or you don't, and you either get the job done or you don't. I'm not one of those people. Or you're those participation trophy award people. That's where a lot of people a lot of the ways we're wrong. And in our way here, a lot of places don't do those participation trophies. So you can't give that out, man. They lost the game. I think they're going to still win some big games down the road, but man, they're able to keep it rolling there with Kansas State. They're a tough team. They don't make a lot of mistakes. Dylan Edwards was playing against his old team with the Buffs. You called it. He was going to be a factor. He definitely was. They got a tandem there, and it looks like college football is starting to replicate what NFL is going towards. You're going to have 2 backs. You're just going to have to. You have to have 2 backs on your team if you're going to compete at a high level and not try to get your guy hurt. So any takeaways, obviously, besides the injuries? Shadur took some bad sacks. He had somebody in his face all game, but still, it was kind of half and half. If you really want to get down to it, if you're still not supposed to take those losses. Maybe they should have designed some rollouts for him to get him out the pocket because he had to throw it away so much, or he was could have avoided maybe some of them grounding penalties. But that's what I would have done. I'd have got him out the pocket real quick and some real quick rollouts, some just something where he could get out the pocket and get moving. And I think you could get a quarterback moving in the pocket and still not make it look like he has happy feet. But what did you think from the game?
Well, I'll start with what you just said about Shadur. No weighting this game on him, but he does have to learn to. You can take a sack, man, but not a 14-yard sack. He runs backwards too much, man. Just okay, he's not gonna run away from him. He's not Michael Vick with speed. I mean, he probably runs. I mean, he's not that fast. He runs a 4.8, 4.9, man. You're not running away from people. So that's what you got to learn in terms of the next level. NFL guys, I mean, if you're second 24 in the NFL, you're punting, bro. Like you're giving up on the drive. That's what NFL coordinators do. You're running
Yeah.
twice because their defenses are so good. You're not going to force the pass. So that's something he has to learn. But this year, I give him a little bit of a break because he's just trying to carry the team. So I get it. But Kansas State's defense, man, they still have to play. Colorado played great. Their battle was amazing. They never gave up. They never do. That's a staple of Dion. I'll give him that. He preaches his team never give up no matter the score. So I love that about him as a coach, and I love that about him as a team. But Kansas State's a problem, man. DJ Giddens is just their running back's really good, man. DJ Giddens is really good. Avery Johnson, he's only a sophomore, man. If he stays for 2 more years, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but watch out for K State in 2 years, man. Championship contender, not just Big 12.
Yeah, and even during the game and even before the game, they've been saying Avery Johnson, he might be a Heisman contender next year. I don't know about that. He might be on the preseason type deal, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going to say he's horrible. He's good, great college quarterback. I think he could be up there, with the McCarthy's kind of deal. But he can. I'm just talking like as a career, not like play style. But yeah, I do like him though, and they were able to get the win. They're good. They got a good matchup coming up, which we'll get into later in the week as well. But we'll move on here. Ohio State to Oregon. Got some stats we want to break down here. Another game where I had Ohio State, you had Oregon. They're able to get the job done. I mean, once we peel back this game and have some stats, it's pretty crazy how a couple of these. It just really comes down, like you said, game of inches, and it really just comes down to those a few plays with these big teams. And it seems like with its 15-minute quarters just goes by so fast right now. The clock's just always running. I feel like with the bigger game you go, the clock's just always running. It seems maybe that's just me, but I feel like especially if you saw the Jets game tonight, that clock just pretty much never stopped fourth quarter. And even with the Giants game the other night, I mean the last night, I mean the
Yeah, for
clock just
sure.
doesn't stop, man. I mean
We
you
didn't
just
have a
not.
chance at fourth quarter. You're right. The
Yeah, you're
clock,
just
it seemed
not
like
getting
it
it.
kept running.
Yeah, it just feels like 15 minutes isn't enough right now, especially with all these teams that or they're pretty much down to the play clock 1 and 2 every play anyway. So with all the checks they're making at the line and all that stuff. But as for the game, I thought Dylan Gabriel did play good. I think Will Howard is he is a system quarterback. He is not a star. He's not a guy that's going to take the reins and get it. I mean, beginning of the year, people were like, "Well, why wouldn't they just keep my Kyle McCord?" I'm like, "Well, he wasn't that good." Now I'm like, "You should have just kept Kyle McCord, maybe." I mean, Will Howard, look, he's just one of those on paper guys. It seems like it's just I don't know, man. It and it's off brand, literally off brand for Ohio State from everything from the optics of it, if you know what I mean. He doesn't look like a Ohio State quarterback that they've had in the past 10 years.
I know what you
It's
mean.
play style or appear any type of way, just up and down. They just went a total new route with quarterback. It looks like, which looks like it may not pay off. I mean, all those receivers you got. I mean, they've always been trying to contest for DBU these past years and all this and that. But man, you need a quarterback. Miami's one of those teams that's able to prove it. Once they got a quarterback, they're good. Washington Commanders, if you want to look at the NFL, they got their quarterback. They're good now. Like, it's just that simple. You need your good quarterback. They're hard to find. It's so simple, but it's so hard. But are you still confident with Oregon national championship after the game?
Oh, it's made me more confident. They should have won this game by a lot more. They left so many points on the board. I know we weren't fully focused on it because of the Florida game. We had money on it. I'm a fan, so it's kind of secondary to us, even though it was a huge game. But I read some things after, which I always do, and Oregon left a lot of points on the board. Apparently, they missed. They were on the they had 2 goal to go possessions and only come away with 3. They left a lot of points on the board, and Ohio State didn't. Man, I just think Oregon's a better team. Will Howard, I said it. I got a really close friend, Ohio State fan, and I was telling him before the year, man, I don't think Will Howard's an improvement over McCord. He's not mobile, but he could sling the rock. I mean, people were hating on him because Marvin Harrison didn't have a huge year, but I'm not as high on Marvin as most me people are. I think Jeremiah Smith's better as a freshman. So that's what I think about Marvin. No disrespect to Marvin, but that's just, no disrespect at all. I just don't think I just don't think he's the prospect people think he is. Man, Calvin Johnson and all that shit. AJ Green, like nah. Julio Jones, he ain't like that, bro. To
Hold
me,
on, hold on, hold on. My bad. I got you. I got you confused. You're not hating. So you're saying the freshman on
Jeremiah Smith,
is better than who?
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, you're crazy. You're nuts. No, you are tripping. You're
Nah,
tripping. You're tripping.
Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, he's a great receiver. There's a lot of great receivers out there, but I think Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams, those 2 guys are freaks, man.
Kyle McCord's playing better now, but he did have moments last year where he was bad, man.
He did
Yes,
too,
they
but
they were. If you would have copy and pasted, I'm say this. If you would have copy pasted last year Kyle McCord for this year, it wouldn't be good enough. If you took this year Kyle McCord, yeah, it's good enough. But he had to improve, which he did. But he had to. Let's be real. He had room for improvement. A lot of it from like he was not this year's Kyle McCord last year. I,
I'm not
I,
arguing
I
that at
promise
all.
you.
But you got to at some point you got to give a quarterback more than one damn year, man. All these big
I
programs
agree.
give up after 1 year. So I mean, you ain't gonna win a championship every year. It's not happening. You don't got Nick Saban on the sidelines, bro. You don't have him. So yeah, if you lose 2 games a year, you go 10-2. It's not that damn bad of a year. Let the quarterback play next year. You lost 2 games, man. That's my argument now.
I feel that.
Two
I feel
game, two
that.
losses, and you don't let it. You ship him out of town.
It
Imagine if they did that
depends,
in the
man. It
NFL.
just depends. It what it with if you're talking about Ryan Day, he's had a lot of losses.
Yeah, he ain't won
He's had a
nothing
lot.
big since he's been there. I mean, he ain't been Michigan since he's been there, bro.
He's horrible. I don't like him. He dyes his beard, and he dyes his beard black. Any of those you see somebody put a grown ass man put hair dye in his face and his beard, he's soft, and you don't
I
want
agree
him
with that
leading the team.
100%. I agree with that
Soft,
100% in a way. I'm not dying
soft.
anything on my body. I'm not dying anything. The word die shouldn't be in the word DYE shouldn't be in a grown man's vocabulary.
DYE, yeah, I swear.
DYE. Yeah, I don't die anything. I'm not dying anything. I'm a grown man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Okay, so we'll move on from that. Oregon was able to lock them out. Now, Oregon, can't believe we'll talk about top 25 in a minute. I can't believe they're not number one. But all right, we'll go LSU, Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, Jackson Fart. He's not good. He stinks. I don't think he's that good. LSU, I didn't think they were that good either. Lane Kiffin, he's got all these players faking injuries to get the clock stoppage. Now, but I do want to say I think he should be the next coach at Florida. But he's just not able to get it done with the players he has right now. He's in Mississippi. It's a hard sell. Come down to the SIP. Yeah, come down to the SIP. And guess what? I'm all for it, but that sounds good. But that's all it does. It sound good. Once you get down there in Mississippi, it doesn't matter how much NIL money you got when there's only 3 stores in the 20-minute radius. You can't spend your NIL money. Like you can't. You all these environments in these towns are going to really come into play with NIL because back then they were choosing the Nebraskas, they were choosing the SMUs in the middle of nowhere's. Why? Because they were getting paid, which is
I get
cool.
that, man.
I'm cool
I
for
get
that.
what you're
But
saying.
everyone's getting paid now. Everyone can pay you. So when everyone can pay you, and it's all over it's on the table now. It's not under the table. Then your city and where you're at is going to start to matter. That's like a team like UNLV could start getting better, like these destination places. But what do you think about LSU, Ole Miss? I mean, is LSU a real contender? Do you think that they can really win the SEC, or is it just another SEC win that is not going to mean too much looking back?
That's a huge win to be Ole Miss on the road. Huge win. Even at the end of the year, I don't care how many games you lose. You look back at this game and say that's a great win, no matter what. I just think, dude, man, I know we're talking about this. I get the NIL thing and all that, but Ole Miss got a playoff caliber roster, bro. They shouldn't lose. They shouldn't lose to Kentucky. No way in hell, man. That's an upset, man. Kiffin didn't get his guys prepared. He didn't get his guys prepared this week. I was all on Kiffin, man. I like the guy, man. I do as a person, man. But he's letting people down this year. It's supposed to be almost the best team ever. Jackson Dart, I know we don't like him. Me and you, either one of us like him. Neither one of us like him. We'll start with that. But NFL guys, think he's a first round pick. Trey Harris might win Blitnikoff. Walter Nolan, number one guy in the portal. They got him. They got one of the best passers in the country, Prince Umon Allen. Corner Trey Amos, supposed to be a fucking first round pick. And you can't win a game against Kentucky and Ole Miss, man. And LSU? No. I mean, I just named several reasons they should have won. This ain't smoke and mirrors. He actually has talent this year, and he's still not getting the wins, man. Maybe he's better as an underdog, which is why, as a Florida fan, I'm damned if I
I
do, damned
agree.
if I don't hire. I think we're damned if we do, damned if we don't hire him. If we hire somebody else, we're gonna get hated on so much because he's the better option. But if he loses, we're screwed too. So, but in terms of this game, man, let me talk about LSU for a minute because I gotta give them some credit. Their defense ball, they played great all game, man. That was their problem the last 2 years. Jane Daniels, they had a great offense, and they still couldn't win a lot of games. They would lose 42-45, and that ain't happening anymore. So if LSU can keep this going, I think that the USD, they always lose the first week. I don't know what it is. If it's Brian Kelly, it's LSU. They always lose the first week. But since then, they've looked great. They got a lot of big games coming up, but the SEC, it's wide open, man. Nobody's dominant. They can beat Alabama. They can beat anybody. They can beat anybody left on the schedule.
Yeah, they can. And I mean, LSU, like I said, I wasn't really high on them coming in the year. I'm still not, honestly, on a championship level. But that is a good point you made. I think with Lane Kiffin, he is better as an underdog. But this roster is a paper roster. It's a 247 star filled roster. It doesn't, it's a UK basketball roster to me. It's all these great recruits. But I mean, did he
Hey,
really
it's
recruit?
NFL
Did he?
draft board roster though, bro.
Yeah,
NFL
but
draft board roster.
I have to ask myself, did he recruit the right fit, not the talent? You got to recruit the right fit. I got to give him a little leeway on that because maybe it just wasn't a right fit. A lot of these with NIL deals and a lot of these NIL just overhauls of players you bring in, sometimes it's just not going to be a right fit that you thought it was going to be. I mean, you're seeing that across the country with a few teams, but LSU still got a big win. Won't take it from them, but that wraps it up for our pick six. We'll go ahead and move on. It was a pretty good week. We have a great week coming up this week. We've already looked ahead. Cannot wait. I'm very excited with that. But we want to give a shout out here to our player of the week. Tyler Warren, tight end for Penn State, set the record for catches by a tight end in a game with 17, 224 yards, added a touchdown in there with a win there against USC, 33-30. I mean, great win. He really showed out. I mean, we got some highlights
Now
here.
he's out wide of the screen.
So, I mean, they're really good, man. I mean, anytime your quarterback can throw 3 picks and you're still able to, kind of get him off the hook, I mean, that's good. So he made a lot of great plays. But what do you think about Tyler Warren? We got a big dog tight end, not usual from what we're seeing from players of the weeks.
I love this player of the week pick, man. I gave you 3, and I'm glad you picked the right one. That's who I was favorite. That's who I was hoping you would pick, man. This guy's a dog. 17. If you think about it, like if you really think about 17 catches in the game, that's insane. Some guys don't throw 17, and if they do, they don't complete 17. That's like a lot of games. This kid just absolutely got open no matter what the coverage was. Zone, man, doesn't matter. Put your best guy on me. I'm getting open either way. He's a dog. He took, they had last year they had Theo Johnson and this guy at tight end. Like, and they still couldn't do nothing. That's what bothers me about James Franklin, man. But
Yeah, I
Tyler
know.
Warren's a dog. That's at the end of the day, he's a dog. So
I agree. It was a great game. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I mean, Penn State, they're able to keep it rolling, even though we was wrong. I am excited to see a player to go out there, and we're not used to seeing that. We're usually seeing quarterbacks out there where we're seeing wide receivers. Ashton Genty put up all these numbers. It's good to see a variety and put a spotlight on some other guys. I mean, he's been making plays, as you can see here. I mean, he made plays all day, and anytime you can go over 100 yards with a tight end, it's a big deal. I mean, this guy, he showed out, man. You can go 224 yards. I mean, that's unreal, and that's next level potential. I mean, like you
we haven't
said,
seen that since Brock Bowers, Kyle Pitts, but besides them two, you don't really see many 100-yard games from college tight ends, man. So yeah, very impressive game. I'm looking forward to watching him the rest of the year and just seeing his stat line, see what he could build on from this performance.
yeah, I mean, and it's been crazy. Do you think like the vertical threat, and I guess with the younger tight end just wanting to get out in space, that kind of I guess started with this new regime since Gronk, right? I mean, I feel like out of nowhere since Gronk was playing, then all of a sudden they just started going more down the field, and the play calling kind of adjusted, and like you see that play right there. I mean, he's going up top like a wideout, man. I mean, uh, when do you think it changed for the tight end? Went around what time?
Well, I think you can go back a little bit before then, and you go to the guys that didn't even play college football and play basketball. Antonio Gates and Tony Gonzalez. I
Yeah.
know, there weren't many of them back then, but I think that's when it started transitioning because neither one of them guys even played college football, and you got 2 Hall of Famers right there, 2 of the best tight ends ever, Antonio Gates and Gonzalez. They didn't play college football.
Jimmy Graham played ball.
Jimmy Graham
Played.
too, yeah, man. Like you said, yeah, Jimmy Graham too, a little bit after them. So I think that's when it started, and now it's just getting better because people are just freak athletes nowadays. The longer the time goes on, the more freak athletes they get. So uh, tight ends are like it might be the most versatile position on the field, and maybe the most underrated position to play because you have to be able to block and be athletic enough to move the chains and catch the ball. Tight ends is a very underrated position in football for the masses.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's been really fun to see that kind of evolve into where it really opens up a lot of your play calling. A lot of these tight end screens these teams are starting to do now, which is really cool. You've seen Penn State ran it, but a lot even they're doing it on the pro level too. So it's really cool just to see. That is a way they haven't really gave a lot of credit in the evolution of the tight end. They have, but they haven't. We hate on the quarterback, but. Maybe that could play. I mean, there's such a security blanket for a young quarterback. We seen Lamar Jackson come in. He had Andrews to throw at early. It really helped him along, and as he was able to progress and get used to the game, and like you said, those cross sport players. Like you said, Jimmy Graham later on, Mo Alley Cox, playing ball. He played basketball for Wichita State, and
VCU,
he's
VCU.
VCU, my bad, and he still makes plays. For the Colts, he was balling the other day, even with old ass Joe Flacco. So, yeah, like shout out to Tyler Warren, player of the week. Could have went with the other ones. Shout out, I will say Carson Beck had a pretty good performance, but I think turning them anytime you can see a receiver bail out their quarterback. I think you have to give it to him. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna move on to, like I said, spotlighting Dalton's Gators, which they did have a very close, very close game, but it just didn't work out. It just didn't, pan out. And like you said it starts with coaching. So it kind of brings us into a few questions, really what's next with Florida football. So what I want to do here is I want to give Dalton the floor to kind of address his team and really just kind of share his thoughts on a bigger level. So take it away, Dalton. Let's.
Well, the biggest thing right now, like I said already, is coaching. Kentucky game next week looms absolutely huge for Napier. If we lose four in a row to Kentucky, I don't think he should show up to the press conference on Monday. Personally, as a fan, we can't lose four in a row to Kentucky as a Florida Gator. You can't do that in football. That's just one of those things that are inexcusable. You can't look past that as a fan, even as a player, man. Like you're expected to win that game. So we lose that game this week. That's the first thing. But then let's talk about this game, man. 3-0 at halftime. If anybody watched this damn game, they know it should have been 13-0 minimum. He left so many points on the board. Billy Napier did, not the team. Billy Napier did, not the team. That timeout at the end of the half. Oh, no, the time I didn't call. We had 12 men on the field. He could have called timeout, avoid 10-second runoff. Instead, he took his timeout, so we lose 3 points. Could have been up 6-0. Instead, it's 3-0. God, we just suck, man. DJ Lagway is going to come in and ball, I hope, but he would look very, very raw against Tennessee, man. We only needed one scoring drive. And, you were watching it with me. I wasn't confident in that scoring drive. Because freshman SEC is never a good thing at quarterback, man. It doesn't matter how talented you are. Tebow didn't start as a freshman. Manziel was a redshirt. He had a redshirt year at least. So, any true freshman playing the SEC is going to struggle. So, the rest of the year is going to be tough for Napier, but he's going to have to win some games if he wants to stay. I don't know if I want him to stay. I like the guy as a person, but our program is just off the rails right now. There's no way we should have lost that game. Like I said, our defense just absolutely balled the hell out. They didn't 3-0, 0 points at halftime, man, and we lose the game. That's inexcusable. It never used to happen at Florida. I could go on and on. But really, like I said, it's all about the coach, man. I'm not hating on the players at all. I love all our players. Saturday, they all played great, man. Maybe I had one or two mistakes by the players, but it's all in the coaching. They played great. I can't hate on the players at all. Again, it's all about the future now. That's what we're looking towards. This year's over. We got Texas. We got Ole Miss. We got a lot of tough games. Let's just beat Kentucky and Florida State. Go ahead with our heads high, and then look to next year and see what happens, man. I'm always about the future. I'm never gonna give up on my team. It would be easier too, but I'm still gonna support them no matter what. We just our AD's gotta make a good hire, man. If he don't, he should be out the door already. You know how I feel. I tell you about this all the time, don't I? This AD, man. How many times I told you about this AD, man?
Yeah, it seems like Florida's just in a really bad spot right now. Not really bad; it can be fixed. We're from Louisville, Kentucky. We've seen even our local team go through a crazy change with all this speculation and scandals, and you can recover from it. It is possible, even though they really haven't recovered on the hardwood. But I really do think they can do it. Obviously the question here, what's next with Florida Gators? I think you've kind of addressed that, and really just seeing what holds next for them and what's gonna really I don't know, what's gonna be a telltale sign of what's to come. So as Jen fixes his camera as we get in here, I mean, the biggest thing I think you really gotta take away from it is you gotta just be patient, optimistic, but as the biggest fans, you have to be the biggest critics as well. That's how I am with my teams. I am the biggest critics of my teams. I think that's how it should be. When you're the biggest fan, you kind of deserve that, earn that right to kind of, be able to criticize your team as well. Because, it's hard to see your team lose, games they're supposed to win. I agree with Dalton there. They definitely should have won, but we got Dalton back in here. We're going to touch on that. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard just to see, I guess just be patient. But I think they can do it. They have the resources money wise. They're in the SEC. Florida has some of the best talent around, with high school and with recruiting. So I think they could really recover, even though they're not in a horrible spot right now. I have faith in them. We've seen Florida on top now the longevity of when they are on top doesn't last that long, but that's everybody. If you are on the top, you're usually not on the top long. That's football. That's sports. You're going to see that here with I think the Chiefs this year. In NFL, I think no matter what, it just is hard to win, man. It's hard to stay on top every year. But I really want to commend a lot of the teams that really go in and try to overhaul this thing. Ole Miss at least trying, man. The Ole Miss is trying to get it. They're recruiting everywhere. They're transfer portal from all these schools, but it hasn't worked out so far. But they are trying. I have to give that to them. But with that being said, we are going to go ahead and take a small break while we get the second half of the show rolling. We are going to go over NFL. We are going to go over some stats, some really take a deeper dive in from the USC game and from the Oregon Ohio State game, that Penn State and USC. We're going to go into these stats because we have the total yard stats and stuff like that, but we're looking at some third down, fourth down stuff as well. But can't wait to get into that. Just give us about a minute, 2 minutes, and we'll be right back. All right, back here, Home Squad Sports. Like I said, we got some stats in here from the Oregon Ohio State game we want to go into. Thanks for staying with us here, everyone that's tuning in on YouTube, Instagram, Kick, Rumble, Twitch, everywhere, man. Like I said, total yards here. We're going to look at passing yards and rushing yards, as well as a few other things. But you see here with total yards, it's a game of inches. Like I said, it was a 1-point game, so we were able to see a few of these here as we get Dalton back in here. But we see here with total yardage and passing yardage, like I said, rushing yardage as well. Out of these two things, what are you thinking that was the big telltale sign? We also have turnovers here. Now, what I think is the game winner right here is third down. It doesn't matter on fourth down. You gotta get your third downs as well. If you'd have went for it on fourth down more, maybe, but they didn't. So, what was your thoughts, Dalton, on these stats here as we take a kind of a deeper dive?
Well, looking at the stats, man, everything is so close. So it looks like if the stats are all close, that's why the game was so close. I'm looking at the stats here: rushing yards, passing yards, all close. The one turnover to zero. I don't remember much about the game, honestly. Not gonna lie, so I don't know if that was led to points. If that led to points. That one turnover could be the difference. It led to points. But passing yards, rushing yards are all the same, man. So it looks like it was just all about scoring opportunities, and Oregon came away with the better end of the deal there. Yeah, there's just like I said, look at the stats, man. There's not much going on there in terms of differences.
Turnovers, man. Just turnovers. You just
Yeah,
can't
one
turn the
turnover
ball
to
over.
zero.
You just
One
can't
turnover
turn the
to
ball
zero.
over. It's that simple. Game of inches. It's turnovers, man. So
Yeah.
there is a little bit of a better stat line, I guess, just so we can talk about more with the USC Penn State. If you look at total yards here, I mean, they are blowing them out. I mean, it's just not good. I mean, this is Big Ten football. They're into new conference. I really thought USC was going to struggle in Oregon up front. Looks like Oregon's doing better than USC up front. Obviously, that's why they're able to get them wins, man. It's that simple. up front. When you don't win, I mean, 400 passing yards. I mean, you can't give up 400 passing yards through the air. If you're going to give up 400 passing yards, you got to pass for 300 at least right back, and they obviously didn't do that. So, and if you want to look at here, turnovers again with Penn State, like we said, with Tyler Warren, he bailed out his quarterback who threw 3 picks. So even with two more, turnovers, yeah, it does look like with third down, at least they got a couple more third downs. It's the same percentage, but they went for it on fourth down. You see 2 for 2. USC never even went for it on fourth down. So that's big. It's ballsy. You've seen that, their backs are against the wall because it's a USC, and their back against the wall because they're turning the ball over. If you turn the ball over or get penalties, it's essentially very similar because they kill drives, and turnovers just kill momentum. So you got to go for it. You've seen with these teams that go for it on fourth down. You've seen with Dalton's team, the New York Giants last night. They didn't go. They went for it on fourth down every single rip. Every single time they went for it, I think, right? They maybe punted one or
Okay.
twice the whole game.
Okay. Well, that um. At first, I agreed with you, and then I kept watching the game, and I seen our kicker miss 2 field goals. That's why he went for it. Your kicker sucked, man. He missed
Yeah, but
He missed 2 chip shots.
you all were going for it on like the
Or on
46.
38, because our
Yeah,
defense was balling.
exactly.
Though. Our
Yeah,
defense was
exactly. That's what
balling.
I'm saying. You all were going for it all the way all up and down the field. It didn't really matter where you were. You were
Oh,
usually pretty much going for it.
we outplayed the shit out of them. And so did Florida. That's what disappointed me. This weekend sucked for me as a football fan, man, because both of my teams outperformed the other team that was favored, and we still lost. So yeah, very frustrating week for me.
I agree, man. It was a sick one. I mean, like I said, we're gonna go into our second half of the show, which we got now. We want to do highlight. Like I said, we had a few stats we just wanted to shout out there, but do want to look into our top 25 poll, which we have that just came out. Now we got some history here, or just not really history, some stuff that hasn't happened since our parents were alive, our parents were born. So if you take a look at it, you see some familiar faces, obviously, with Texas and Oregon. Then you see some unfamiliar faces with, Navy and Army. Army coming off a big 44-10 win against UAB. I mean, shout out to them. It was a really big win for them. I mean, they're able to keep it rolling every week. What do you think here about the top 25 as I bring it up? I mean, are there any teams that you think are kind of misplaced or getting hated on, or what are you thinking?
Look at the list right here. I like that. I don't think Oregon should be one, man. Texas had better win than
I
Texas
agree.
at this point. At this point of the year, that's what it's about is resume, and they have a better resume in Texas. Go ahead and move Texas number two. Miami, I hate them, and they should have lost 2 games, but they haven't. They're undefeated. To me, if you're in a power conference, you should be ahead of every one lost team. Go ahead and move Miami to 4. And it sounds crazy, but put Iowa State at 5, man. That's what I like to do polls. I don't Preseason polls really shouldn't exist. There shouldn't be a poll till after week 5 or 6, if you ask me. Because then you know what the records of the teams you beat are, and you know how good you
Mhm.
are. Preseason polls shouldn't exist because there's so much bias involved. The BYU, if BYU, if preseason polls didn't exist, BYU would probably be number 3, bro. Their resume, they beat a lot of good teams, and they look good doing it. I don't like BYU, but that's just the fact of the matter. Boise State's probably too high, just because they got Gene T, man. Everybody loves Gene T. I love Gene T too. I'm all about Gene T, but Boise State. It's still Boise State. Are they really going to beat Ole Miss on a neutral field?
No, man,
Are
I
they
don't
wouldn't
think
be
so.
they wouldn't be favored. Is the question? They wouldn't be favored, bro. So
No,
that's
they
why I don't
wouldn't.
get
No.
polls. If you don't, if you're ranked over a team that you would be favored on a neutral field, I don't understand your voting. I just don't get it. That's not. I never
I
understood that
agree.
top 25 poll, man. They just wouldn't beat them, bro. Like they wouldn't be favored necessarily. They might beat them. They might beat them. They might beat them. But they wouldn't be favored.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense because
You
you would
know?
think if Ole Miss was still at 12 in that playoff picture, then I would get it because the only reason I'm saying that is because um, you may have a home playoff game, because in the playoffs, the first round, if you don't have a bye, are at home. So yeah, they wouldn't be favored if on the way, but or at home would they be? I don't know if they're thinking about that at all, but that's a stretch. I don't think Ole Miss should be behind Boise State. I think you're dead on the money there. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's really wild. I agree with you on Oregon as well. You have if it wasn't a Red River rivalry, if it wasn't a rivalry game, if they didn't blow them out so bad, then I get it. but they did blow out the rivalry team. That's the only reason I think they're on there. I think they're just kind of waiting and kind of giving them a good look there and seeing, okay, can you keep it up? We're gonna throw you a bone this week. Are you gonna mess it up, or are you gonna show everyone that you're the real deal? So I think that plays a part in it. It's just really weird to see Penn State at number 3 in the nation, man. I mean, we thought they were going to lose. We had them on our undefeated teams, or that as going into last week, these were our undefeated teams left. Obviously, Ohio State lost, but all these other teams, I mean, they are undefeated still.
Crazy. It's crazy.
BYU is undefeated still. It's wild, man. Like I said, BYU is sitting here rated at 13. They're knocking on the door of the playoffs. They have a big game this week against Oklahoma State at home. We're going to see if they pack the house, which they will, and it's probably be like a whiteout or some deal. It'll be a big deal. 10:30 night game. Get your popcorn ready because they're looking for some respect because they can't get no RESPECT right now.
You
And
probably only need popcorn in the first half, man. To be honest, I think they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. I think they ain't gonna be close, bro.
I hope so because I got money on it. I hope BYU wins. Now I do want to say here with this team, I mean, I think Iowa State's they're gonna lose. They're looking for a big loss soon. I mean, be on the lookout of Iowa State absolutely just shooting themselves in the foot and coming out with a dud. I can see that happening. Um, Miami's got Louisville this week. They're only about a 6.5 point favorite. A lot of people think that's not enough, or if that's a sign that Louisville's going to win. I think that's just conference play. At its best, you're not going to get too many spreads no matter what. When Louisville can beat any team. We've seen it last year. They beat Notre Dame when they were trying to get it done and make a run. But I think Illinois. I mean, Illinois, they pulled out a crazy win last week. I thought they should have lost, but they won. So they're able to win. Signetti over there at IU. If you take a look at them, they're at 16. They are in the playoff hunt as well, which is crazy to see. I think they're due for a lawsuit. I don't know when it's going to come at all because that's just. Are they going to go undefeated, or are they going to eventually lose? It's just one or the other. So I think they are going to eventually lose, at some point. But I guess we'll see. What I do want to go over here is the last few takes we want to do before we end it and we get you on here. I know it's kind of going in late into the night, but we do want to highlight Navy and we do want to highlight Army. Like I said, this is the first time that these teams have been ranked in the top 25 together since 1960. So, I mean, you got to give a shout out there. I mean, shout out to Army and Navy. They are ranked in the top 25 together. So shout out. They're not building through the portal. Obviously, these are future soldiers and future shipmen, and they're. I got a guy in Navy, Juwan Haley. We are a few former classmates, and we played an all-star team together. He was actually a starting DB for Navy for a couple years. So shout out, Juwan. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everyone for their service, and shout out Army and Navy. That's good to see them good. We like to see these blue bloods. We say that's good for football and all that, but it's good to see Army and Navy, these guys that serve our country. And if you don't know, you only get to play a couple years at Army and Navy on the football team. And when you go to Army and Navy, you can't play as a freshman. They have a freshman team. They have what they call is like a freshman JV team. You play JUCOs, you play some D2 teams, some NAIA teams, and then what a lot of people don't know is Army at West Point, they have what they call the sprint football team, which is weight. It is a weight class. So you can't be over a certain weight, and all their linemen are like 210 pounds. And they have 3 football teams at West Point at Army. A lot of people don't know. So they got the Army team, they have the freshman team, they have the sprint team, which is really cool to see. No, obviously that's nowhere else, and it's really cool. I mean, shout out to Army and Navy, 23 and 25 in the nation. You're not going to probably see that for a while with this pay to play era that we're in. And you're just not going to see it, man. Shout out to them. They're really able to get it done. But we're taking a look at a top 25 before we end here tonight. It's late tonight, early in the morning. Had to start a little bit late because of that game that ran a little bit late. But we will start before the Monday night game ends from here on and out, and we will have basketball coverage coming up here this week at the end of this week, we got first basketball coverage, which we're very excited about. Going to have some guys, some former pro players, former college players that will be coming on and breaking down hoops for us on a broader scale, breaking down some film prospects and all that good stuff. So, and we do have our interviews here with our players from Mount Healthy. So, Mount Healthy there in Ohio. We were able to, get eyes and ears on the ground, and we were able to cover their game last Friday night, and they won 42-0 against Belmont. That is a school there from, I think, from Dayton. So they're from Dayton, and they have a few D1 players on the team. Mount Healthy, they got a Wisconsin commit. They got a guy who just committed to Akron, Ty Watkins. They got Jameer Spain at quarterback, who's got multiple D1 offers, and they're a really good team. So I do want to say shout out to a coach for having us. It was great just talking to the staff and getting on the field for the first time, as a part of doing media here. And I've played many games. Dalton's played in many games, as a high school, but it was our first time really being in media, and it's been really cool to see. And we're able to take a step back and you enjoy the game. As a player, you're not able to really and sit back and watch the game. You're in it, and it's pretty wild. So yeah, shout out to Coach there. Shout out to Mount Healthy there in Cincinnati. They're a very solid team looking to compete for the state championship there. We will be on a few more games later in the season, which we are excited about. So we are going to wrap it up here there. But like I said, crazy week 7 that's kind of transgressed, and that's kind of set up for week 8. That's going to have a lot of implications here, a lot of playoff bids on the line. I mean, you're going to see guys enter the transfer portal here soon. I mean, it's going to get crazy here. If you think the season has been crazy so far, be on the lookout here. Is Notre Dame going to be able to get in the playoffs? Is Texas going to be able to keep everybody at bay and their first year? And really, and the big boys with injuries and injury free in the SEC. I mean, it's just been a great season, man. And with basketball coming up, we have a loaded show here for you. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Like I said, on YouTube, Kick, Instagram, Rumble. I think was our first time on Instagram this go around. So we'll be on Facebook Live as well, continuing on throughout the season. I mean, we're just getting started here, but we'll leave you on that note. Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to everybody's tuning in, and y'all have a great night. Help someone. Y'all have a great week, and we will see you all later in the week on Thursday to go over our top 6 games from this week that we're looking at. If you're a betting person, we'll have our picks as well. So be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, you all have a great evening, and y'all take care. Peace.